Welcome, everyone. I'm Marquita Solis, Uncaged Heart Coach, and we are watching Uncaged Leaders. So I'm excited that you're joining us today. We have Tom Glazier, who is a licensed psychologist with over 38 years of professional experience helping individuals heal, grow, and reconnect with their innate resilience. After enduring significant childhood trauma, Tom embarked on his own personal journey of recovery, one that led him to specialize in working with trauma survivors. These personal and professional experiences inform every aspect of his work, blending clinical insight with hard-earned wisdom and deep compassion. So Tom is here today to tell us about his books, and one just came out, and I've interviewed Tom before, and I love speaking with people who live from their hearts and in that happiness, and you can feel that energy of happiness, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome, Tom.
Thank you for having me, Marquita. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. I I happiness sometimes seems like a faraway destination for the men that I work with. And so I work with men that are struggling to get out of the man box that so the man box is what society puts men in, starting when they're born, even before they're born. This idea that you have to be tough. A little boy's coming into this world. Oh, well, yeah, he's going to be a tough, tall provider. And he better be tall, right? He better be strong. He better be handsome. And he better not be like a girl, show emotions, better not, because women and femininity, those qualities are weak. So you better suck it up, as some of the men on my show have talked about. You better zip it, and you better hold in these emotions, because I've had just recent conversations with men who have been condemned for crying by their partners. And many men tell me women say they want this, but when it really comes down to it, they don't want that. They don't want someone that is emotional. So, and how does that affect a man? So that's what we're going to get in today, and how Tom's books are one of the solutions to living in that authentic capacity as a human being. Let's forget about men, women, any gender, but as a human being with feelings and emotions. That's what we're going to talk about today, and overcoming the trauma and the shame of being told to be quiet, go to your room until you can get it together, until you can, come out here. Don't come out here until you stop crying. So so yeah, I'm excited about this. As you can see, I need to stop talking and let you start talking, Tom. Tom.
Well, can I just say I applaud your efforts, Marquita, that it's just so important that we allow everyone to have our full range of experiences, including our emotions. And it's so important for everyone. And we do get and give really conflicted messages in our culture about being men in particular, but nobody wins when we do that, right? We can't exclude women. Like, women suffer just as much when we try to limit men, right? It's every nobody wins. And so yeah, yeah, keep going. I
Yes.
love what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yes, I switched to coaching men after I encountered many women that hated men, and I also ran into personal relationships with this suppression of emotions, which really hurt me. And I thought, what's going on here? I mean, why
Yes.
are you suppressing your emotions? What's going, and as I began to explore, I saw the wounds that men have. I mean, after coaching women, and being a female, I know what those wounds are firsthand. And then to have it, like you said, be in relationships with men that are wounded, and their wounds wounded me, and by no fault of their own, because that is who they were brought up to be. And many of
Absolutely.
the men that I talk to are self-aware. So we want
It's
to bring
so tempting
self-awareness.
to blame, right? You're wrong for being this way. And let's not forget the bigger picture, the socialization. And it is wounding, right? To be told you can't show your emotion. I'll never, just a quick example, I'll never forget, um, some big, tough guys coming in, delivering a new washing machine into our basement, right? It's a tough job. And and it fell on one of the guy's toes.
Oh God.
I know, right? So imagine how painful that is. And his response, that would hurt. That's what he did. That's what he, I mean, that gives an example of the level of ability to suppress, right? That's a learned behavior. That is not an a born-in response. Of course not. That's learned. That's training, decades of training, and it's sad. It's so sad. Again, nobody wins in these situations.
You're right. Nobody wins in these situations. And I have so many questions. Let me get to first, let me
Yeah,
find out
yeah,
about your childhood.
yeah. Sure, sure.
What was that like?
Yeah, mixed. Very, 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 very highly mixed. So in many ways, privileged. We always had enough materially. So solidly middle class in the 1960s and early 70s. Um, my family was fortunate. There were four children. Parents stayed married our whole lives. We could go on vacations. They'd pack us into the station wagon and we'd go to Washington. We were in Michigan. We'd go to Washington, D.C., North Carolina, Florida. So, in a decent education, right? So, privileged. And from the outside, everything looked great. And that was very important. Like so many people, right? Appearances are so important. Behind closed doors, things weren't so rosy. My poor mom had a sleep disorder. She suffered from depression. There was way too much alcohol consumed in the house, and she would just rage uncontrollably at times. So nothing physical, but verbal was horrible. I mean, calling us names.
Oh,
Sometimes randomly, but more often triggered by something really trivial, and the crazy part was sometimes the same thing would evoke no response. Other times she would go into a rage and call us out for, just leaving a piece of paper or missing one little speck on a dish or I mean, it's just crazy. And then, so there was that. Oh, and no talking about it. She never apologized. There was no repair,
no.
no reassurance that we were not at fault. So the message was we were in her way, we were wrong, we were bad. Um, and children internalize these messages. So I grew up believing there was something wrong with me, or my mom wouldn't do this. And I and when a primary caregiver says really harsh things, children tend to absorb it and believe it, right? So I believed that there was something intrinsically wrong with me. Then, starting in junior high, I was so to call it teasing or bullying is putting it so mildly, but our language hasn't really caught up. We don't have good words for what I experienced. So again, nothing physical, although I was threatened to be beat up regularly, but teased and bullied mercilessly for appearing effeminate. So it's just the kinds of things we're talking about. So-called fag, and the word fag was written on my locker. I mean, more times than I can
Oh,
remember. Yeah, and public. A lot of this was public, so I was just humiliated, and I was told, what sexual acts I should be performing. Again, in front of other people, peers, never in front of teachers or staff, right? So and again, because of the family stuff, where nothing was ever talked about, and I thought I was at fault, I didn't learn that I might have stood up for myself or gone to someone. I had no idea. It never occurred to me. I was so ashamed, and it was never an option much later. Oh, why didn't I? I mean, decades later, why didn't I go to the principal or the vice principal or something? Never occurred to me at the time. I was too ashamed, and so I never reached out for help. So the combination of home craziness and then school, again, to call it bullying, it's beyond that. The closest I can come to is like verbal sexual abuse is the closest term that I've been able to come up with to describe what I endured. at school. So that's in a nutshell the hard stuff. Now, again, mixed at home, lots of good stuff. I had a good family in many ways, but there were these crazy moments that I didn't know what to do with.
Yeah, and that's terrible about one of my best friends who's passed away, and I feel he struggled with all sorts of trauma and being abandoned by his father, and he was gay, and he had to suppress that as a child, and all this emotional suppression is terrible on the body.
Yes.
And men are living this, like you with the example with the gentleman that machine fell on his toe. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
You're right. That is not a natural behavior.
No, 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 we're socialized. And I was not immune to those, especially then. Remember, our society's come so far, right? There are out gay people now all over the place now. Not that it's easy for everyone now. There's still horrible, I mean, suicides are still occurring because of family rejection, but it's better now. But back then, these things were not talked about. There was no one on TV. The shame level was just so high. And so, yeah, I was also learning from the culture that I was bad and wrong, and there's no one like me. All of these actually false beliefs went so deep.
Yeah,
And
and
what
you're
happened is my relationship suffered. That's what I because I felt I needed to protect myself, right? And so I became quiet and kind of a smaller version of that washing machine on the toe. Don't admit it, don't say anything. It's safer. So I did that in most of my relationships, especially when I was younger, until I learned. I was fortunate to have people say to me, like in college, I'll never forget, friends saying, "You're too quiet. We want to hear from you more. We want to know you. We want to know what you think, what you feel." But it took me a long, long time. I had to find really safe people. And in fact, I would say, really, it was my training as a psychologist and my own personal psychotherapy that helped me kind of unfreeze, like I was an ice cube, right? Just frozen. But slowly, 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 by finding safe people where I could admit some of the things I just said to you that I had never talked about before, um, and having people still accept me, Mark, in spite of it, or even with it, or because of it, even like saying, well, it makes you more of a you've heard of I may be pronouncing it wrong, kintsugi pottery.
oh yes,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
kintsugi.
where they put the broken pieces back together with gold or silver, and the piece becomes more beautiful. Like I had people say that kind of thing to me. We love you even more because of it. This is part of you. It's fine. We love you. So then I learned, oh, those were false messages. I was wrong. I can trust people. I can be actually all of who I am.
That is
That was,
beautiful.
I know, isn't that great?
Gosh, yes. And I think about the men that are afraid to express emotions. They might express some and then they'll be so afraid, it'll trigger them and they'll pull back. And then they'll go into that, like that Arctic cold, the freeze, right?
Yeah.
And then how that is such disruption in a relationship. And then the partner's thinking what's going on and they're running away. And then the shame is saying, well, you shouldn't have done that. Right now they're hiding more because of the shame. What's going on with that? I mean, that push-pull dynamic inside of a man who is afraid to, who kind of took some steps and was able to have begin something, but then pulled away and now the shame is triggering and saying, no, no, no. But then the other side is saying, I want this, and that conflict. What's happening inside of that man? And what would you say to that man?
Okay, there's so much I could say. It's like, how do I even, oh my gosh. Um, okay, what I want to say is remember, the things we are most afraid of, almost always are the things we most want. And this is what I find in my own work with men. They are yearning for a safe place. It's human to need a safe place. Human, human, human. We all need safe places in which we can express ourselves. Once men, generally speaking, are given an opportunity and you teach them and show them that it's safe by not shaming them, by being open, by not just saying the words, I want to hear from you. And you're right. So many women say, I want a man who expresses themselves, but then they do, and they don't like what he says. And then he feels shut down and it makes it worse. So, not just saying the words, I want to know who you are, but demonstrating in your actions and your openness and saying, wow, that even though it might be hard to hear, and you can acknowledge that this is hard for me to hear, I wish there's a piece of me that wishes that weren't true. And I hear you and I honor you and thank you for sharing me, right? So demonstrating in your actions, not just your words, that it is okay.
That is beautiful. Yes. Yes, because I don't like to say the word scary because I think, men don't want to be perceived as scared. I mean, but change
But they
is
are, but there we are. But it's
right.
okay.
You're
It's
right.
okay. Fear is a human emotion. Human, not man or woman. Everybody is afraid. It's part of being on the planet. We should be afraid. Fear helps us be safe. It's okay to have fear. It's okay. Everybody does. We just, as men, we're conditioned. Women too, actually. Again,
Yeah, you're
women are
right.
not totally free. It's just in general, there is more permission for women to have all their emotions. But what was I trying to say? I had a point there. Everybody's afraid, and it's there for a reason. Honor it. And oh, here's the other thing I love about this, Marquita, is that the trick when we are afraid is to, and I love this because it becomes kind of a simple formula is to answer this question, what do I need to do to support myself to do what this is that I'm afraid of? And there are things we should not do when we're afraid. This isn't blanket statements. If you don't want to jump out of an airplane, don't jump out of an airplane, right? There's stuff you don't have to dive into the water off the cliff, right? There's stuff to be afraid of. But if you want to, because you got a parachute and you've got gone through the training, you can. But the idea is and that actually might be a good example. So what would, say I want to become a skydiver, what would I need to do to support myself to become a skydiver? I would take the training. I would go with someone who knows what they're doing. I'd find a good school. First time I would do the, what's it called? The tandem. And I would
Mhm.
talk with the person on my back and we would, I'd get educated and I'd support myself to do something hard. And actually when I turned 50, I did this. I have some fear of heights. And I was from the age of 17, I remember wanting to skydive. So I did do this. I don't ever need to do it again. It was petrifying. I did do it. I'm sure my face was totally white by the time I ended up on the ground. But I did that.
That's amazing. Yes, and you're right. To acknowledge all emotions and to be able to speak them, that is courageous, right? And to say, I'm afraid, and I'm afraid all the time. So, I mean, I've overcome that and I let fear. So there's a difference like when it's consuming your life and then when you acknowledge it and you face it head on and say, yeah, well, here it is, you're not running from it. And if you're running from it, that's okay too. I've run very, many, many times and I still will run from fear, I'm sure, in my life. No
Of
one here
course.
is perfect.
Of course.
We're all having a human experience and doing the
Yes.
best we can. And that's what we forget. And yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes I just feel, I mean, I feel horrible for men that are so, I mean, this alpha male that's like, oh, and that's the persona. And how exhausting that would be to carry that persona around. I mean, if I had to go out there and just be tough all the time and just, this and this, nothing's going to bother me and, da 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 da. I mean, it's exhausting thinking about it.
It takes a lot of energy. Absolutely. And that's one of the things I point out to the men I work with. Yeah. Yeah. Are there other things you might expend that energy toward, right? Other things you might
Yes.
want to do.
Like the man mask, right? When you were talking about the man mask, which is that it's not the authentic self, but
Right.
what society has said, you put the
Yes.
mask on before you go out. Let's say go to the corporate office, right? You can't be crying there. So that, I mean, tell me about that. I mean, that energy level of carrying that mask.
It absolutely is exhausting. Like you're saying, to not be ourselves, it takes a big toll. Yes, on our bodies, on our psyche, on our nervous system, right? And then it limits how what we can do interpersonally. So yes, it might be great for making $1 billion on Wall Street.
Yes.
But is your family suffering? Is your partner suffering? Are your children suffering? Are they other people who are most important to you? And what matters more at the end of the day? People never say on their deathbeds, I wish I had made a few more bucks. No one says that. What are their regrets on their deathbeds? I regret not investing more in my relationships. And it is emotional intimacy that builds relationships. Presence, yes. Spending time together, yes. And that authentic heart to heart connection, being our true selves. That's what brings people together. And I think of you were mentioning masks earlier, and there's the masks that and the symbol of theater or performance, right? There's a smiling mask and there's a frowning mask, and that represents comedy and tragedy. And we connect when with laughter, deep laughter, whether it's a performer with a crowd or whether it's one-on-one or in small groups. We connect also through our pain by revealing ourselves, by by sharing our deepest hurts. That's when we connect, because then it's a trusting, courageous act, as you were mentioning earlier, to share. We let the listener know that we trust them with our inner selves. It forms a bond, a deep, deep, deep bond. And then when people can say, oh, thank you for sharing me, here's a similar experience I had, and you find you have in common, you find you're not the only one. That universality, very, very, very healing. I think this is again, these are universal experiences. It's not just true for men, but maybe more for men. That we feel so alone. There's no one like us. No one can truly understand. But when you do share your inner story, like I did, I was shocked to find that people actually did understand, even if they didn't have exactly parallel experiences. They understood enough. They had enough commonality, and I was stunned. You mean you've experienced bullying? Yeah. And these people looked really put together to me. On the outside, I was projecting, they're fine. They're fine. They're functioning so well. And that putting them on the pedestal and I'm down here, crap.
Right.
Oh,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is amazing when you finally feel accepted by someone. And when you come out and you take the leap of faith to tell a story that you haven't shared with someone and to have a safe space. It's
yes.
beautiful. And the power of connection. I didn't even know how connected you could be with someone. I mean,
Right.
until recently that to have a soul connection. So in relationships, which I talk about now a lot, I mean, a lot of them are transactional, right? You do this
Mhm.
for me, and it's all, I don't know how to describe it other than it's also a structure that society tells us how we're to be. You're going to grow up, you're going to have a partner, right? And then you are going to have a house. Now this person's going to do this and this. So you're in this kind of thing, and now we're missing the soul. Right? Somehow the soul gets left out because we're jumping into it with physical, and it's like physical, and then maybe we both like to play ping pong. Maybe we like to go hiking, right? So I would go hiking with these guys I thought were perfect for me. I was having a deep soul experience, and they were just like, oh, la la, we're hiking for exercise, okay? So, and then I'm thinking, wait a minute, no, you're supposed to be feeling the same soul experience. So that's where there's so many things that I have greater awareness of when when I found that soul connection, like I never had before. With like it was almost like I met myself, right? Meeting myself, and it was like that, meeting myself. So compared to this other thing when I was jumping through hoops, pretending and just doing transactions. I'll do this, and now I've bought myself some love, right? And 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 when we connect with soul, if you're wearing a mask or if you're afraid to be vulnerable and courageous, you're not going to have that soul connection. You're going to be wanting it and craving it because that is humanity. We need that. And I think about the poor men. I heard a story about a man who recently passed away. He was an alcoholic his whole life. He lost his family. He had everything on paper. Divorce at the end, his wife left him, no kids, nothing. So who knows what his wounds were? But this
Right.
is an epidemic for men not
Yes.
being able to open up because of these society's pressures. And then I talk about the half system, like we're living in logic and we're suppressing the emotions. So that's not logical. I mean, this is a whole body. In order to run this body in this capacity, we have to be logical and emotional.
We need it all. Yes, there's a reason we are given, blessed with, may I say, all of it, both. Yes, absolutely essential. Absolutely. And the problem is our culture values more the one than the other, sadly. The
Yes, and
logic.
oh yeah, logic for women too. Women have to
Yep.
be cold too out there in the corporate world.
Right. Right. Exactly. And it's
And
sad because then we're limiting ourselves from the kinds of connections that I believe we do all crave and yearn for. And again, having done men's groups for years, when men, like I was saying earlier, when they are provided a safe space and can come into themselves and find role models when they see it in another man, how do you do it? How do they do it? And they just watch and observe, and then they find it in themselves. It's just so cool, so exciting. And then some of that tension, that freezing that you were talking about earlier, or I guess I was too, it begins to melt away. And like literally you can see their shoulders begin to drop because they're more comfortable. But like I just want to emphasize again, the yearning is there. The desire is actually there. It's actually really strong. It's just people, men in particular, don't always know where to find it,
yeah,
sadly.
and yes, and men don't know how to connect with other men. I have a friend who is in prison, and I talk to him and support him, and he says that I said, "Well, how's your brother? How are the nephews?" And he said, "I don't know how to ask how are the nephews." He acknowledges. I mean, the reason he's in prison is because of the shutdown, because it
Mm,
affects everything, and
right.
drinking, right, and making poor decisions because
Yeah.
shutting down your emotions. This is a
Yeah.
very sensitive man,
Mm,
and by my heart goes out to him that we all make wrong choices, and he made some bad choices, and
yeah.
thankfully it wasn't me. I mean, I'm blessed that I am not in prison because it could have happened to any of us.
Absolutely. I could have easily become an alcoholic with what I went through or some kind of addict easily. Easily. Okay, can we come back
Right.
to this question? How interesting. He doesn't know how to ask how the nephews are. It seems like a simple question to you and me, right?
Yes. Yeah, right.
What an example of how restricted he feels, how shut down. It's so sad.
It's very sad, yes. And his brother lost the nephew's mother in a car accident, and I feel like yes, asking about that. How is your brother doing with that? That's just not discussed. And even in other conversations with people, it will be at a surface level. How is so and so? Oh, well, they're doing good. They're playing golf. But no, I mean, I really want to know, how is their soul? How are you doing? And it'll be a surface level. So many of us are living on this surface level, and we don't even know what the deep connection is. And that is what brings me such joy and
Yeah.
happiness. And we want to
Yeah.
talk about that. But yes, so I mean, now I'm not any better than anyone else. I've had to forgive myself a lot on my own journey.
Yeah.
And it's brought me self-awareness because I used to hate myself. But nevertheless, I feel like I have come up to a level definitely where I'm no longer satisfied with these kind of surface level interactions. And like, for example, for me, I don't want to necessarily go out to a restaurant. I want to have a conversation that takes me to the moon. That is far superior to me than going out to dinner with someone. To have that connection, which is that just, I mean, I get so elated inside and so warm in my heart, and I sleep good when I have those kind of things. And anyway, that's just my little story. But let's talk about happiness when it comes to this, and when we're having these deeper connections. And tell us about how your books play into this, this connection with happiness and humanity and coming together.
Yes. You know what I want to say first is the risk-taking factor. So anybody in a system, like again, using your friend as an example, we all participate in these systems that are and there are unspoken rules often in any system, a family system, a workplace system, even a neighborhood. There can be unspoken rules. There's a rule in that family. We don't ask the deeper questions. And we might empower ourselves to ask deeper questions if we want to get closer. Now, we do risk rejection, risk being shamed. It might not work, and it might. So, one option would be to just go ahead and ask the deeper questions. In terms of your question, okay, so my second book is The House That Resilience Built, a psychologist's approach to working with healing, I'm sorry, childhood trauma. Um, so let's talk about resilience a little bit to get to your question. I sort of stumbled upon resilience, actually. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was pursuing resilience when I started getting into nutrition and physical fitness. And I start there, and that was early. I became interested in nutrition. I remember way, way back because my mom was into Weight Watchers for a while. And that's just the first time I thought, oh, like what you eat matters. It never occurred to me. We were like eating white bread and, that awful peanut butter and, tons of sugar and pop and soda um so I start with nutrition and exercise because the physical really is the foundation. So anybody who wants to improve their mental health, improve their connections, start there because the our sleep hygiene, our nutrition, our movement habits support the brain, support our whole system, support the nervous system to make it easier to do the other things. It evens it all out. We reduce inflammation, and inflammation is harmful on so many levels for our immune system as well as our mood and how we move our bodies and what we put into our bodies, what we expose our bodies to, including media, has an effect on how we feel. A minute later, an hour later, a week later, a month later. It's cumulative as well as it can be pretty immediate. Although we become conditioned and we don't always notice either the immediate or the long term effects. So start there. Next is mindfulness of thoughts, mindfulness of emotions. So learning how to work with our thoughts and emotions. So for me, like I was giving examples earlier, and you acknowledge some of this too, that you also learned to hate yourself. I learned to hate myself too, in a nutshell. And waking up to the falsehoods of these beliefs. And sometimes we're not even aware of what we think about ourselves. Again, it just becomes so ingrained that it's just taken for granted. So, waking up to how we feel about ourselves and then finding some self compassion, confronting the false parts, and some of our self beliefs might be accurate. Most of the negative ones are totally wrong in our culture. But so waking up to those and then finding a way to work skillfully with our emotions. So people get overwhelmed, people get angry. How do we work with our anger? How do we work with sadness? Sometimes people have overwhelming amounts of anxiety or depression. How do we work with those? How do we go with them? Finally, we come to the heart. How do we connect with ourselves? How do we connect with others? How do we connect to something greater like spirituality? How do we give back to others? How do we make the world a better place? So, that in a nutshell is resilience, the three pathways, um, physical, mental, and heart. And an image I like to use, or a metaphor I love to use for this, is think of a bridge. Think of the Golden Gate Bridge, a really specific bridge. As most of us know the Golden Gate Bridge. Think of it, there are really strong inner supports. So that's like I think it's called pylons, like the strong, they pound steel deep into the earth, right? Those supports are not, they bend a little bit, go with the wind, but they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay in place. And then there are these cables. Think of those as the outer supports. So inner strength and outer support. So we're developing both of those all the time. What are my inner supports? What are my our inner strengths? What are my outer supports? Physically, mentally, and relationally. And not only do all those things help our physical health, they help our mental health, our emotional health, our relational health.
Yes, I love that. And I think about an unshakable foundation. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that a lot of times people think that means you don't feel anything. But no, that doesn't, that means, so I say I'm unshakable. Does that mean that I don't cry? No. Does that mean that I don't fall
Right.
down or no,
Right.
it means that
Yes.
I accept it all. I might fall down, but I'm going to get back up, right? I might
Yes.
fall down for a few days, but I'm going to get back up. I mean, I'm unshakable in that I'm soft. My gosh, softness is so criticized, right? I'm an empath and I accept everything. I feel everything.
Yeah.
But
You can't not if you're an empath. That's just how you are. It's your nervous system. It's how you work.
right, and I'm not weak. I'm strong. I want
Yes.
everyone to know that. I feel
Yes.
everything. I'm soft and I'm strong.
That's the
So,
true courage, is allowing all the feelings to be and to flow. And when people can do that, they realize they're temporary. All emotions are temporary. They all pass in time. Sometimes not as quickly as we like, but they do pass like clouds in the sky. Can I say too, I want to jump in with this, Marquita. Um, when my first book came out, the first book is Full Heart Living: Conversations with the Happiest People I Know. And that's when I was on your show the first time.
yeah.
And I was on a TV interview. The first question, unplanned, I had no question. I had no idea this question was going to come out. The interviewer asked on live television, "So are you always happy?" And I was so surprised. I said, "Hell no." If I knew, I would have, been a little more careful with that first word that came out of my mouth. But I couldn't take it back. But no, I'm not always happy. Right. I have all my, and happier people are, there's no evidence that they have less sadness. Uh, They allow the sadness to come and go, and that takes courage. It takes strength. It takes that deep pylon to know I'm sad and to let it go.
I love it. Yeah, you're right. And one thing that I remember from reading Dalai Lama's book was it's, I think the title is Happiness. And it was when you realize life is going to be filled with illness, sadness, you accept these things, then you're going to
Yes.
be happier, right? Instead of
Exactly.
fighting it all day and saying,
Yes.
why? did this happen to me? And someone, I remember reading also a quote. Somebody said, well, who was it supposed to happen to? Right? Oh, should it happen to Tom? Right? He
Yeah,
should have
send it
gotten
all
it.
my way, please. I'll take it. Sign me up. No thanks. We got to spread it around. And it comes back to what I was saying earlier of not being so isolated. When we share our suffering, and yes, that's the very basis of Buddhism, right? Life is suffering. That's the
Oh, yeah.
first thing. And then, but if we just hold on to it ourselves, then it compounds. But when we can share it and realize that everybody knows suffering, then it's a shared burden, right? And we release it when we share it authentically from the heart. Now, if we just share it like a journalist,
Uh-huh.
right? If we just report the facts, my mom died and I felt bad, there's very little relief from that. But when we really share from the heart, oh my God, here's what I miss about my mom. When we cry, uh, and the other person accepts it and is there for us and holds our hand or gives us a hug, reassures us, I'm here with you. A little bit over time, a lot releases, and we figure out a way to recalibrate and readjust to the world, and a new me emerges, right? I'm not the same as before my mom died. I'm different. I'm not the same. I show up differently. Her death informs how I live, and actually in many good ways.
Yes. Yes. We all go through the now I'm scared to say hell. We all go through all the we go through the hell to get out to to the blue sky.
Yeah, exactly. And we can't have one without the other, right? That's the yin and the yang. And let's
Exactly.
get through the hell, you know, quickly and healthfully so that we can enjoy the blue sky. Because if we're pushing down the hell, if we're avoiding it, we can't see that, we can't appreciate the blue sky. And I want to appreciate that blue. Oh, I love me my blue sky.
I know, huh? And y'all, I guess me and you are y'all, but so when we're pushing it down, it's coming out some way that you can't
Exactly.
push it down
No,
forever.
no. Either we get ill or we get mean or what? A thousand other things. It's like a pressure cooker. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's like, and when men are holding it back, that's like, I know one a gentleman described it as having a cinder block on his chest, when he was
Oh,
living out of
geez.
alignment with who he was. He knew
Yes.
that, and it was just that pressure on the chest.
Oh, that's a great metaphor. So sad, but that's so apt. It is like crushing his heart. He can't breathe. He couldn't breathe. You can't breathe if you have a cinder block on your chest. You can't move. You can't be in the world the way you're meant to. Oh,
Yes, and for men, there's that, and young boys, this aloneness and these high rates of suicide and depression because they're
yes,
not able to express. I mean, what
yes.
would you say to that man that wants to find happiness, or maybe just thinks it's impossible now? What would you say to that man that just feels like there's no way out and that doesn't even know how to start? Taking that cinder block, peeling these layers like men describe it, peeling these layers of the mask off. What's the first start?
Like the person you mentioned, he started by noticing, wow, this is my experience. I feel like I have a cinder block on my chest. That's where you start. You acknowledge the truth. This is what it's like. I'm suffering. This is what it's like. This is what I'm experiencing. Because it's very tempting when we're living that way and we think there's no way out to tune it out. And we can get we are designed to adapt. So we can become adapted to very dysfunctional settings. We're meant to do it temporarily to survive, just to get through short term. But sadly, um, people hold on to these things because they worked temporarily. That cinder block did serve a purpose at some point. This is something else I would say to him. That's there for a very good reason. It's almost always safety. That was there to keep you safe from a very specific situation. Let's say, thank you, cinder block. Thank you, my inner self, for creating that, finding that. That's great. That's good. We're not saying it's bad and we're tossing it out. And I say to people, you can always return to that cinder block. It's never going away. You got that down. And and when you're ready, remember you are not alone. If you get ready, and it's not an expectation, and nobody, I'm not saying you have to, you should. It's an option for you. Everybody has free will. If you'd like, remember there are millions of men who feel similarly, who actually will understand. Go back to that formula I mentioned earlier, which, by the way, I learned in my Gestalt training. Gestalt is a school of psychology. What would I need to do to support myself? What would I need to do? What might that be? I might need to challenge those self beliefs. I might need to remind myself that I have done hard things before. I can do this is hard for me. Again, acknowledging the truth. Hard for me to reach out and try to find some help, but maybe I could find a coach. Maybe I could find a therapist. Maybe I could find a men's support group and take it really small, slow, small step, baby steps. Most of us don't remember learning to walk, but we fell down a million times before we figured out how to find our balance. And we celebrated. Little kids don't get discouraged and get down on themselves. They might get frustrated a little bit here and there, but basically they're just like thrilled when they take that first step or when they first roll over. They're just like, whoa, what is this? What's this world? What just happened to me? And they celebrate it. So celebrate even really small victories. Those are the things that come to mind right away, Marquita. Is there more? How about you? What would you say that I didn't say?
Well, I would say that, like you're saying, we're not going to fight the cinder block or call it bad. We would say, let's use it for a different purpose. Let's realize it's
Mm,
here, like it was,
mm,
like you said, it serves this purpose. So we can put it aside. And if we need to bring it out, if someone's really hurting us, then we bring the cinder block out and we use it in a different way, or we use it for us. But we have to realize that we're not in the fight or flight now. I'm in like, engaging in relationships with other people that are safe. So
yes.
we'll say, thank you for what you did,
Yep.
but I'll come to you when I need you. And now
Yep.
I'm going to take out something else in my toolbox, more empathy, more compassion, more trust.
Ah, love it. Oh, yes to all that. This is why I love collaboration. Because, right, they're like none of those thoughts are foreign to me. I use those, but they didn't come to mind to me a minute ago when I said that. And so, oh, yeah, like being reminded. And I get all excited, as you can see. Because, yes, all those work and they help us. And we all need reminders of these things.
Yes, and I love what you're saying about going slowly, because we don't want to just go out there and trust the world. We want to be able to develop. The more we know ourselves, the more that we're going to be able to be aware of other people and who we can trust. But the more we shut down to that somatic side, which is the intuition and the feeling, the we're not going to be able to trust others, or sense, have that intuition about other people. And then we're making poor choices in relationships because we've turned off the feeling. And if you can't just turn off emotions, like I'll just turn off this and shut down this part, but you're going to shut down all of it and it's going to be a flat existence.
Right. That's what happens. Right. You can't shut down depression or anxiety without also shutting down joy. It just there's all it's all they all come together sadly. Yeah, it's just so
I
yes.
know. It's the coping mechanism. I'm going to
Yes.
shut down. I'm not going to feel it. So you're not there. That's the sad thing. They're not aware of it. Or like I've had men say, I don't feel anything. Now, when I've heard that, I intuitively know you are feeling because you're
Correct.
telling me stories of pain. So
Correct.
you might not be aware of it, but
Correct.
I see that you're feeling. I
Yeah.
can sense it. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm an empath and I feel the pain that
Yeah,
you
of
are
course you do.
sharing with me.
Yes, of course you do. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so even for so do you feel your thumb rubbing against your fingers? So start really basic, really small. Oh yeah, I can feel this. Of course, they say. Of course. Like, what do you think I am, stupid? Right? Well, keep going. What else do you feel then? Right? There's
Yeah, and I love that because, a lot of times they might say, I don't feel anything. And that's okay. We have to say, okay, you're saying that you don't feel anything, and that's fine. Just
Mhm.
sit with
Yep.
it. Just go
Yep.
back again and
Yep.
sit with it
Yep.
quietly. And don't
Yep.
say you yeah, I have to feel something right now. Just
Yep.
sit. And things will shift. The body shifts, right? I'm allowing now myself to be in quiet without any agenda, without any expectation, just to explore and discover what is happening.
Yeah. Well, and then, yes, I've of course encountered that too. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. I don't feel anything. Okay. And I hear it as I'm not aware or I don't want to, right? I don't say that right away, but I tuck it in the back of my mind. And I keep listening, keep listening, keep listening. And eventually, if we hang in there long enough with patience, they're going to say something like, I was driving, I got cut off, and I got so mad. Well, what happened in your body that told you you were mad? Right? And again, they'll say nothing, nothing, nothing. Patient, patient, patient. Eventually, oh, well, I froze, or there's something, there's a little something, and in time, the awareness increases.
Yes, very true. And that goes back to, well, the emotions like anger, lust, these are emotions that are allowed with men. It's
Right.
like, don't be
Yes.
emotional, but those are
Yes.
fine. Don't
Those
be
two are
like a woman.
okay. Yes. Yeah.
And then
Right. Okay. So start
that's,
there.
yes, because I remember a friend of mine telling me about a man that came and he was like to him and said, I'm so excited. Oh my gosh, I just realized that all this time my horrible temper was because I didn't know how to express the other emotions and they were all funneling through temper.
Exactly. That's so common with men. It's the only one. And often anger masks other feelings, right? Or it's the entry point. Like to grief, often there's grief or shame. Shame is huge. Shame and
Yeah,
anger
shame.
often go
It's
like there's a
crippling.
lot of shame with anger. Hmm.
Yeah, shame it just keeps you in that man box. It keeps you from expressing, it keeps you from being in that flat existence because you're
Exactly.
too afraid to come out and be who you are because
Mm,
society has said you are not enough. You cannot be weak. You can't show this. You have to shut down what you feel. And you if you feel it, you should be ashamed of feeling it.
yep, exactly. Exactly.
Shame, yes. And so I mean, we are human beings doing the best we can. That's the most important thing to remember. We're doing the best we can.
And you were doing the best you could when you got that original message. So I take people back. Where did you learn that? Who told you? And usually, often, not always, but often, with enough time and patience, they can pinpoint. Well, my grandfather said when this happened, it's often like about crying, right? Don't cry. Boys don't cry. Men don't cry. Stuff like that.
Yes, men don't
Mm.
cry. Oh my gosh, yes. All right. So, so I want to talk a little bit more about the book and how can this help men get out of this man box specifically? I mean, I love the three, is it tiers? It wasn't tiers, but I'll call it that.
Pathways is the word I
Yeah,
use.
three
Yeah.
pathways
Yeah.
system, yes. And I mean, how will this book elevate their life, The
Yeah, so
resilience. I mean, resilient, we have to be resilient. And that means resilience, resilient with all emotions. I'm just going to throw that in.
yes, that's right. Absolutely. Well, I take readers through my own personal journey of childhood trauma and resilience, and I did that just in a nutshell earlier on the show here today. Then I take people through 7 composite cases.
Mm,
So and it's all based on real things that have happened. It's just, I to protect privacy.
right,
It's like a tossed salad. I put a bunch
right.
of different clients together so you can't tell who's who. But I
Hmm.
take readers through um, key moments in trauma therapy. So how did we together? And it is a um, I'm blanking on the word collaborative process. How do we together make a difference in these kinds of self beliefs that men bury very deeply? And that isn't the only thing in the book, but it gives a bunch of examples that are similar enough that I've heard readers say I saw myself in every chapter. Every chapter. I know, amazing. What great feedback. So exciting to hear. So I take readers through these key moments in trauma therapy. And so different ways that client wake up and make a huge difference and become resilient. And it's through relationship. Most of these wounds occur in relationship, actually, of one kind or another. And it's only through relationship that we can heal them. And the book demonstrates that is through relationship, through safety. Safety is one of the 7 building blocks. It's 7 chapters. Each one demonstrates one of what I call building blocks of trauma resilience.
What you're saying makes sense is to have someone there to support you, to say that this is normal, to normalize
Yes.
this, the wounds, and to have someone to say, I mean, I feel that pain. I understand, I hear you and you're safe with me. That is one of the most beautiful gifts that we can give someone, the gift of non-judgment, of empathy and holding that safe space. And it's rare. So, I mean, to find those people is so, I mean, that it's something that needs to be cherished, right? And we all it can step up to that, elevate ourselves, right? I mean, I wasn't born this way. I had to go through the rubble and all the fire and destruction to come out on the other side to
Like the
get where I
Phoenix.
love
Yeah.
myself. Right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
the Phoenix Rising. So
Yes.
we're not, no one's here to judge. We're here to be that hand of kindness and to say that you deserve a safe space. If you don't have one now, please find a safe space. Get Tom's book and read it, and you'll hear the stories of people who also were afraid and it felt like they were at their wits' end, but they had the courage to do something about it, and how beautiful that is.
Safety is the first of the 7 building blocks, Marquita. And I'll say too, the later chapter. So after I take readers through those 7 composite case studies, I wrap the book up with a couple chapters. One is kind of a tongue-in-cheek look at what to expect if you come to see me in therapy, how you're going to love me and you're going to hate me and you're going to reject me. And eventually you're going to like hear my voice, not in a creepy way, in a good way. You're going to incorporate what I've taught you. There's a chapter on how to find a good therapist or what to look for in a good therapist. I almost didn't include that chapter because I thought there was plenty of that out there. And then I did a search engine search and I couldn't find it. So I wrote it, this what to look for in a therapist and then how to respond. If someone in your life reveals they're a trauma survivor, people often feel like they just are completely unequipped. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. So there's also a chapter on that, what to say to someone you love if they reveal to you they are a trauma survivor.
That's beautiful. And that is so needed to find a also, I mean, the guide to find a good therapist. Because I remember one time a therapist was telling me, I'll be so glad when you don't talk about this. And I never went back again because that was like, there goes the safety now, right? And also, what was your second point? I don't remember what you said.
The chapters at the end of the book, there was what to expect if you see me from therapy, uh, how to
Oh,
help
and what
someone
to say to
else.
trauma.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Yes, because people will avoid those conversations, right?
Yes.
Just like when someone dies, people don't know what to say. So this is
Yes.
a beautiful, very, very much needed. Thank you so much for doing this,
Mm.
Tom, and your books
Oh,
and
oh,
coming on this show.
you're
Where
welcome.
where can people find you? Where can we get your books?
It's available on Amazon and Itasca Books, Itasca. Itasca, by the way, is a small company. They're a warehouser local in Minneapolis, and they sell books too. So by mail.
All right. Well, we can all keep growing and reaching higher. There's never, I mean, a cap. I don't know what to say. That there's not a top to self-growth,
That's
right?
right. As long as we're live, we're developing, we're growing. Yes.
Right. All right. So get Tom's books,
The house that
and
resilience built and full heart living.
yes, The House that Resilience Built and Full Heart Living. Go get those today, and we'll all keep growing together. And thank you for coming on Uncaged Leaders, Tom. This
Thanks
has
for
been,
having me.
oh my gosh, my heart is so touched.
Mine too. Thanks, Marquita.
Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you